Добрий вечір всім, хто вирішив.
Good afternoon to everyone who decided, well, today I hope that tomorrow's night as well you are going to dedicate your time to the jazz. We find ourselves today in the city of Dnipro, where we are going to continue the multi-year tradition of jazz festivals, Jazz on the Dnieper. My name is Niger Vladimir, my colleague next to me. Good afternoon, dear friends. Actually, we can say that the Jazz on the Dnieper made a breakthrough to some extent because many festivals have been cancelled because of different reasons like COVID, pandemic, and we hope we are going to win over this virus soon. But we prepared the online festival this time. This is a new story which I like very much. We have a very powerful position. You find yourselves where you feel good, and we hope that you are following us online, our transmission, and we actually hope that you're going to be our cool partners in this online transmission. You can actually, what you're going to do to disseminate this information. Actually, the temperature in Dnieper is 27 degrees centigrade, and this is really a cool place to spend your summer wonderful days in August. Actually, as a rule, during this summer time, in the island, actually, we have kind of live jazz sessions. We also are going to have some live music. We are going to listen to very exclusive, let's say, interviews and talks, and those who are connoisseurs of jazz. We hope you're going to spend this night with us. More specifically, we are going to have a quiz for those who know very well the David Brubeck. We are going to have the Ted Panken, a legendary journalist. He is going to talk with Arturo Sandoval, and I believe that my colleague has an experience of talking with this man, and we are going to talk about that. We have Pablo Seedorenko. We are going to have my favorite Kiev jazz man, Dmitry Alexandrov Dennis Adu is going to join us here. We have wonderful stage here. We are going to have real good and cool time if you are a newcomer and you're just going to make a kind of discovery for you. If you're talking about jazz, we have a new video. We are call it the stars of our stage.
Stars above that shine so bright, the mystery of their fading light that shines upon our caravan. Sleep upon my shoulder as we creep across the sand, so I may keep this memory of our caravan.
I really love jazz festivals. I've never been in the full format of the Jazz on the Dnieper festival. We understand because of the pandemic, like many other festivals, this specific festival actually suffered to some extent, but unlike many other festivals, this specific one is going to be held, and we are going to start it right away. And tonight and tomorrow night we are going to enjoy the jazz environment, jazz atmosphere, and I do hope that the jazz program next year will be not abridged like this year, but will be in full. We are going to enjoy this full program next year. Sure, this is unusual format of the Jazz on Dnieper Festival. All the actually participants who have been announced for this year will appear on the stage in this city next year, and more about that will be told by our director of this festival, Anna Russkevich. Please share your secrets. Good afternoon, dear friends. Honestly speaking, we are really happy that we managed to be online even with you, owing to the online transmission, But sure, the whole world is living through a very difficult situation when all the major festivals had to cancel their programs, and that was absolutely unexpected. Nobody was prepared for that, And of course, how we can find a way out of this crisis. Nobody knew about that, how to do that actually. It's impossible to do some kind of analog of the live performances, and we judge this situation as a new opportunity, and we would like to actually to offer to you some fragments of the jazz life, which perhaps would be impossible to offer to you this kind of menu for the jazz in a normal format. But actually, all the jazz community lives like that, and we actually try to be in contact all the time with each other, and we do hope that this year, actually at the beginning of this year, we promised to our public that we are going to have this next year. So okay, we understand what is going to happen this year, so we prepared very saturated program, and actually each year we celebrate some centennial of the well-known famous jazz musicians, and this year we are going to celebrate centennial of Charlie Parker, Dave Brubeck, and Peggy Lee. Charlie Parker, if you are talking about that, we prepared program financial, which consisted of the star composition musicians. Like last year, we actually invited here the one of the famous group, the Legacy, and we believe that one of the participants of that band is going to be today on air. And so, all the lovers of jazz concerts in Ukraine, not only in Ukraine, this is kind of international movement which we managed to put on the menu, and we hope that this is going to happen and continue to happen next year as well. But this year, I believe it's very symbolic that we not only ticked off that we are going to have something, we actually living through those jazz days in the city of Dnipro. So maybe there'll be some unofficial, maybe some basement or some kind of open air platform. Something's going to happen so that the jazz lovers could actually join the jazz movement. Actually, just now we have the jam session in our Dnieper Jazz Club. Just during those specific minutes we are talking with you now. So. And today we are going to have a very big city concert, which is tradition of our public. It's free, but because of the COVID-19 quarantine, we had to introduce some changes, and of course there will be a special admission, so to say, to that. Well, thank you very much for a very interesting announcement, which is in store for us for those 2 days, today and tomorrow, and next year again. May I wish your festival the full house, so to say, to capacity of the public. I would like to say that I was really happy that the concert you mentioned, which is going to be offline concert in the festival, actually in the key of the Dnieper River. Actually, we are talking about the sold out. Of all the tickets were sold out, so we have to tune ourselves to this kind of jazz mood, and we really were happy that you invited us. We talked with our director Anna Russkevich. Maybe we can offer to you some, just to put you back to the previous jazz festivals in this city. Deborah Brown, Summertime.
Summertime and the living is easy. Fish are jumping and the current is high. Your dad is rich, your mom's good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings you're gonna rise up swinging. Then you'll spread your wings and you'll take to the sky. Till that morning, nothing's gonna harm you with your mama or your daddy standing by. talking. So, hush, little baby, don't you cry. Hush, little baby, don't you cry. Summertime. Thank you. Dobry wieczór.
That was Deborah Brown. And you know, approximately this is how the Dnipro Jazz Festival looks like as a rule, you know. And these videos, when I was this video of summertime, my desire to be part of this live format of the jazz festival actually became even stronger. And actually, what I'm scared of that we start to get used to the life in the small online windows in YouTube and Zoom formats. And also we are going to have Cheptoo Kositany. She is a popularizer, wonderful popularizer of jazz. She's from the US. She was born in Kenya, and she does everything, you know, for the musicians on jazz stages in all countries the world over, you know, could meet and could join each other on the stage in unforgettable performances. You know, she was let's say actually master of ceremonies during the last year's Jazz on the Dnieper Fest. Actually, Cheptoo has a very special thing for us which she prepared, kind of online guided tour of Kansas City. Also, we are going to have the video greetings of Andrew Zdesenko, representative of the biosphere, and perhaps they would be master of ceremonies of the next year's Jazz Fest. Actually, we can do it right away, and okay, to have actually an opportunity to talk or to hear this story was from the last year's master of ceremony.
На Дніпрі.
Perfect. So how have you been? I wish I was in Dnipro. I wish I was in Ukraine. I miss you guys. I miss the food. I miss the people. I miss the atmosphere. This COVID is horrible.
All of us so sad about this gap between two events. I believe 19 and 2021.
Yeah.
And we miss, and we didn't get this music, these emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's for me, jazz on the Dnieper. It's one of the most impactful and emotional events for our city. When people listen very deep music and to leave support and smile, express themselves.
Yeah, and bringing community together. What's wonderful about jazz with the jazz and the Dnipro is it brings the community together. It's families, it's friends, you know, and the food is excellent. It's just a really, really wonderful environment. And like you say, very inspiring and gives you food for the soul, you know, that you
Yeah.
can, so you can continue for the rest of the year.
Agree.
Yeah.
Maybe people do not estimate this perfectly, but they're feeling. I listen a lot of the people's speeches when they tell that it's so sad that we are not able, you know, to feel the music and to improve their taste for the jazz, for the blues, for this ambience, fantastic ambience, you know.
Yeah. And to connect with other cultures and musicians from different countries and that kind of thing, and be able to experience that is really very, very important. And you know, it becomes, and also the jazz at the Dnieper has become part of the life of the people. So that when you miss it 1 year, it's like missing a birthday, you know, or missing some kind of celebration. It's part of the fabric of the community now, that when you don't have it, you're missing something. And so it's very important to really continue it.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you see the difference in content and not approach, the sound and the content of new albums of new friends, just players, due to Corona crisis, due to pandemic? They make a break for new content, for new ideas, new sounds and songs, and now everybody has break, and they can be able to deeply express, to rethink the music and previous experience, and to create something completely new, which not really correspond with the previous experience. Maybe to create something new and more progressive, more unexpectable from the style of this musician.
I totally agree with you. I mean, I think there is going to be, I see right now musicians that are in studios creating music since they cannot perform live and perform in concerts and creating new content. I see collaborations across genres where they're working with other musicians that are not necessarily jazz musicians. I see a lot of experimental with the digital because I think with jazz musicians right now, the reality of that they might not perform a concert for a long time, or even in a club with the social distancing and everything going on, that the digital platform is going to be very important. So I see a lot of, I hope to see a lot of presentation of content through the digital medium. I think also the other thing that is going to be very interesting is not only because of COVID, but in America, with what we're going through with the Black Lives Matter movement, it's another second civil rights movement, like in the 60s. And so this is another uprising of African Americans, but it's not just African Americans, it's the youth of America saying, we want a new America. We want America that has equality for all. So I think all of these things happening globally, I think, yes, you're going to see some new music, some new content, something totally, maybe even brand new, you know? I mean, if you look at 100 years later, we're celebrating Charlie Parker centennial this year. Charlie Parker, the founder of bebop, he changed music. He was the disruptor of jazz. I think we're about to see some other disruption of jazz moving forward. You know, the jazz world don't use the word disruption like the corporate world uses, but there's got to be disruption in the music world, in the jazz world. Over the last 10, 20 years, you've seen that disruption going where jazz was mostly a male-dominated music genre, especially when it came to instruments. Women were more vocalists, but you're seeing the change and the transformation of where you're seeing more females, more people of different gender, getting into jazz. So yes, I think we're about to see some disruption and some new music. Once this COVID is done, it's going to be a totally different world, and we're going to have a lot of music to enjoy, to analyze, and to preview.
Микола – акула бізнесу, та всі справи поділив на ті, що приносять гроші, та на ті, що не приносять. Коля, а руки помити?
Це грошей мені не приносить.
Добре, що у всіх є вологі серветки Смайл Антибак. Смайл – твоя гарна звичка.
But so far, first of all, we are going to virtual travel to Kansas City, and then this will be followed by some music. Okay, let's fly virtually to Kansas City, and let's thank Cheptoo Kositany that she's going to offer us a very dear present to all of us, a special and a real guided tour.
I am Cheptoo Kositany. Welcome to Kansas City, the childhood home of Charlie Parker. We're going to take a quick tour and show you some places that impacted Charlie Parker while he grew up in Kansas City. Two of the homes that Charlie Parker lived in when he was a child still stand today. It is in this Westport neighborhood, which is actually very interesting considering that this was during segregation, and where Charlie Parker and his family lived was a white, wealthy neighborhood. Later on, Charlie Parker and his family moved to a neighborhood where Charlie Parker attended Lincoln High School, which it still stands today. Kansas City has a rich jazz history. This informational kiosk going to Kansas City's Plaza at 12th Street and Vine honors that legacy. This area, during its heyday in the 1920s, had hundreds of jazz clubs, cafes, taverns, and barbecue joints. We are now at the 18th and Vine neighborhood, a very historical area in Kansas City. This was, and still, an area for African Americans that of commerce, entertainment, and culture. It is here at 18th and Vine at Lincoln Hall, where on Fridays and Saturday nights, Charlie Parker's and students from his high school, Lincoln High School, gathered to socialize and dance to live bands on the third floor of this building. 18th and Vine did not look like this during Charlie Parker's time, but was completely renovated several years ago and now houses the American Jazz Museum and other cultural institutions. The museum honors the jazz legacy nationally. They have exhibitions, programs, of course, very artifacts and collections, and also provide music programs for youth. The clubs that Charlie Parker performed in and learned his music do not exist anymore at 18th and Vine. However, one building, the Mutual Musician Foundation, still exists today. This was formed as a local 627 Colored Musician Union. It was established in 1917 so that, and a lot of jazz musicians, including Parker, were actually members. It still exists today, and they're still doing the same thing that they did 100 years ago, which is musicians would still go in after midnight once they finish performing in the clubs and would do jam sessions at the Mutual Musician Foundation until 6 a.m. in the morning. And that still continues today in Kansas City. This is where Charlie Parker is buried next to his mother, Addie. This particular cemetery during Charlie Parker's time was segregated, so blacks and white could not be buried in the same cemetery. Every year, musicians from Kansas City come together to honor and celebrate the jazz legend with a 21 sax salute. This sculpture honors Charlie Parker. The sculpture is called Bad Leaves, and it was installed in 1999. It is located at the historic 18th and Vine. We will end this tour at the mural of Charlie Parker in the middle of downtown Kansas City. We are proud of our jazz legend, and we continue to celebrate him today and tomorrow. Thank you for joining us and learning more about Charlie Parker and his childhood home.
Good afternoon to all those who just joined us in the online transmission. We very much grateful to you that you decided to spend this afternoon with us in Jazz and Dnieper in the new format. If you like this guided tour in Kansas City dedicated to Charlie Parker, please write about that to us. We are very stubborn people, we believe that if we promised they talk with Benny Green, the more so that this person very honestly and sincerely tries to contact us every minute and to establish this contact with us. We really wanted to offer you the acquaintance with this legendary musician this day. So we really ask you kindly for a few more minutes. Maybe you can know more information about the city of Dnieper. I believe many of you have never been here. This is my first visit to this city for myself, and this is a wonderful city. And we are going to do everything possible for you to not only to see, but also to hear the voice of Benny Green, and not only the voice, who is going to come here next year and present his new album in a live performance.
To look around me. Am I in another world? Can it be that love has found me? What is this thrill, this strange delight that my heart has never known until tonight? Baby, until tonight, am I in another world? Did I throw a lucky 7? Have I suddenly been hurled into my idea of heaven? I'd hate to wake at break of dawn. Out of a dream, and find you gone. Am I in another world, maybe, or am I just in love?
Господи, у нас музыканты на сцене, наконец.
Well, we are blessed. We have the musicians. At last, we have the musicians on the stage. And what kind of musicians? Actually, this is a kind of mixed, let's say, composition together with Dmitry Alexandrov Dennis Adu. The more so that this year, the year of the centennials of Charlie Parker, we would like to talk about this person who was one of the best saxophonists in our country, and not only in this country, Dmitry Alexandrov. But anyway, what wonderful city of Dnipro is in summertime. I believe that you like that. And this video which you watched with us together maybe inspired you even more and persuaded you not to miss this Jazz Fest and other fests which actually take place held in summertime in this country. By the way, both Dmitry and Denis, they were playing here into 2016. Do you hear us? We actually, if you do not hear us, we can actually wanted to talk with you about Charlie Parker. Do you remember your performance 4 years ago in 2016? And now an abrupt switch over to the talk about Charlie Parker, centennial of his birth. This is a wonderful, actually, the luminary of jazz. Dmitry, can actually join us and approach the mic, because we would like to ask your colleague about Charlie Parker. Is he really some kind of influencer or inspirer, or have he ever been such for you?
Вообще, моя первая книжка джазовая, которую я увидел, это была «Омнибук» Чарли Паркера, распечатанная на ризографе, если ты помнишь, такой аппарат был в Советском Союзе. Это было и сшито сам издатом, то есть эта книжка была затерта до дыр в музыкальном училище имени Лятошинского в городе Харькове.
Well, the years have passed, but your actual relations with editor Charlie Parker has changed or not?
Были саксофонисты до него и после него, но Чарли Паркер, он как один. Он как сияющая звезда, который единственный неповторимый, это самый выдающийся саксофонист.
You know, this is saxophonist of all the times. And I believe this is going to be an eternal happening, actually, forever, for good. Actually, we are really happy to see you here, and we can see that we haven't seen you this year, generally speaking, and we are happy that we have this opportunity to see you here in this Dnipro city this time. And I'm sure that many musicians, not only from this city, are actually following our online transmission. I know that many people of performance industry suffer a lot during such times. You know, they know this is not really so, because this is another time opportunity for us to just to gather together our thoughts, ideas, and just communicate. But I would like to thank you very much for the invitation extended to us to come here to the city of Dnipro, and I hope that. And I would like to call upon all the musicians, guys, please be strong, because this pandemic is going to go away sometime, you know. And then actually, thank you very much for your words. And actually, but we would just look who we have here on the stage: Dmitry Alexander and Denis Adu on the stage. And shall I continue talking? I'm just sending a kind of virtual kiss. Seedorenko bass, Seedorenko bass, Tom Schlemmer for the piano, and Dennis Adu. Dmitry, we are going to come back to you again. Let's get back to music. I'm sure we're going to have some real exclusive performance now.
красиво це вийшло. Браво! Між іншим, браво!
Actually, we are talking about the online transmission, a new format, Jazz in the Dnipro. We actually, the special musical piece was written by Pavel Seedorenko, who plays guitar. Thank you very much for this wonderful music, the percussion, to piano. Thanks to all the musicians, Dmitry Adu, of course. This is a wonderful Kiev musician who plays the trumpet. As you maybe he was really harmed. And he's from Kryvyi Rih, by the way, not from Kiev, actually, yes. And Dmitry Alexandrov plays the saxophone. Thank you very much. That was fantastic. The guys special came to Dnipro to be with us tonight. This is really a pleasure to see, to watch and hear the live performance. We are privileged, and all of us here who find themselves in this studio to watch and hear the Ukrainian jazz music. Guys, thank you again. We are going to have another live performance of the Seedorenko band, but we are going to have the legend of journalism, Ted Panken, who is going to talk with Arturo Sandoval. And I believe that we'll be more lucky, really, you know, with Ted Panken, but we still hope that Benny Green will appear tomorrow. You know, when I heard about this festival, when I started to study the history of the jazz in Dnipro, which continues in this kind of online format today and tomorrow, I was really impressed. I was amazed about the long and very interesting history of jazz in the city of Dnipro. Not always it was safe, because jazz actually existed here in the times of the Iron Curtain. You know, they had a legendary jazz club in this city. It was dangerous in those days. You know, it was impossible to get a good, let's say, LPs or something like that, or vinyls, you know. But those were the heroes. If they were not here, if they're not dedicated and devoted to this music, of course we would not have this chance to participate in such a wonderful festival today. I agree with you, and I would recommend you to visit the wiki page Jazz in the Dnipro to know more about the jazz history of this city. You know, but when we are talking about the jazz luminaries, you know, where are they? Just right now, they are part of the jam session, one of the cafes, restaurants of this city, and actually the Foundation Cultural Capital helped them to organize that, and the cafe Buba Mare. Let's see what happens in Buba Mare. We have a special video dedicated to this event.
Я очень люблю джаз. Это мой образ жизни. И Днепропетровск уже 52-й год является во многом столицей джаза. Этот город, который сумел подарить миру прекрасных джазовых лидеров. Это город, который сегодня является пропагандистом, в хорошем смысле этого слова, лучших образцов джаза. Что касается меня, вот вы берете мое интервью у меня, не как у свадебного генерала, я действующий. У меня прекрасный оркестр, Little Band 6-й музыкальной школы, гран-призер фестиваля всеукраинского «Джаз над морем». Оркестр, который в юбилейный 50-й год Днепропетровского джаза открывал главный концерт на острове, на главной сцене. И мы гордимся этим. Мало того, я вам хочу сказать, что джаз, который сейчас на протяжении моей педагогической, музыкальной, аранжировочной деятельности, которая связана во многом с детьми, это дети, которые продолжают этот мир искусства, так называемое его величество джаз. И я горжусь этим.
Гоняем кровь.
Давай, тому що
You know, this legendary man who was talking with such love about the power of jazz in the city of Dnieper. Actually, I believe he identifies and provides the necessary level of energy that we can actually listen and fall in love with jazz. For you, Yaroslav and Valery Chubay are your host and hostess, but we approached the quiz, centennial of the Brubeck, so please try to remember everything you know about these legendary musicians, but we prepare some questions for you. Okay, let's be tuned in. This year the jazz in Dnieper traditionally is going to celebrate centennial on the birthdays of the legends of jazz. In 2020, the centennials would be celebrated or marked if it were not for the, bad joke. Well, they held Peggy Lee, Charlie Parker, we already mentioned him, and of course Dave Brubeck, one of the apostles of the cool jazz. Yeah, actually, we can help you to win some present or gift. You love some funny and very interesting quizzes when special people are going to visit you, we bring you the gifts or presents. And whenever you find yourself the world over, you're going to get this present if you give us the correct answers. So you have to join us in chat, and actually our special computers and people are going to watch who is going to be the first one. We are going to concentrate on the most famous piece of Dave Brubeck and his band, Time Out album. This is one of the most popular album, not only in the history of jazz, but generally we are talking about music. The same can be said about Take 5, or let's say the Rondo a la Turk. This album was recorded at the Columbia Studios in 1949, and actually we are going to ask you about this specific LP. In the first question, you're going to answer this time right away. Why, in the title of the first track of this there are such words as Alaturk in Turkish way, so please give us the fastest answer possible. And I'm going to repeat the question. Why in the title of the one of the tracks of the Brubeck of this album there are such words as Alaturk in Turkish way? Okay, if I don't know the answer, okay, just forget about that. Google actually can help you, but this will take some time, But in our chat, in our online transmission, there are people who do not need any prompts, let's say, to answer this and other questions. So, question number 2, which is dedicated to the most popular jazz standard of track Take 5. Officially, the author of the composition is attributed to the saxophonist Desmond, no less legendary than David Brubeck, but everybody knows perhaps that the Take 5 is the fruit of collective effort. Actually, it was prepared by the percussion man, by the drummer, and then the melody, the two pieces, was written by Paul Desmond. But what role of Dave Brubeck actually what role was played by Dave Brubeck in this actually creative effort, a creative collective effort, was Dave Brubeck's. Actually, I can see not many people, but there are some answers already which we received, and I come to the conclusion that our young people also joined us here. It's really gratifies my heart that we have not only for those this transmission, not only for the real jazz connoisseurs, but also for those who just are going to discover jazz for themselves. Next question, you have two questions. Dave Brubeck was repeatedly invited to participate in some governmental events. This is some recognition of musicians, but actually they did not stand this privilege too many times. Okay, in 1958, Dave Brubeck participated in the Congressman Powell jazz, and so we are asking you, give us the answer. What country Dave Brubeck played? And I give you a little prompter. You know that was in the Eastern Bloc countries. We start to receive actually some answers, and I believe that we closely follow who is going to be the first to give the correct answer. This is kind of secret. We ourselves do not know what what kind of a word we are talking about. Maybe we can do something about that after our talk with Benny Green. Another question about Dave Brubeck when he was playing for special events for governmental delegations. In 1988, the spouses of Reagan, President Reagan, actually invited Dave Brubeck to play in Moscow during the summit meeting. What composition, what piece of music actually opened this famous performance of Dave Brubeck in Moscow? So it was the first one. And another prompter of mine, this tune was kind of the jazz hour and the Voice of America, and I hope we are going to receive a lot of questions. We were talking a lot about Take 5 over the last few minutes. It would be logical that you right away are going to listen to this legendary music, legendary composition, but not in classical performance, but performed by a person who is was directly involved, and we hope that we're going to see next year this person again, that we're going to win over this coronavirus composer who actually had some of the legendary collaborations with my beloved Jimmy Scott and other great names in jazz. Jacky Terrasson and his trio are going to play for us right away. Take 5.
Take 5.
Dear friends, we continue our jazz on Dnieper 2020, this kind of experimental format, but the life is certain one. Even under the conditions which you all well know, the world is living through, especially we're talking about the world of musicians and jazzmen. This is a wonderful summertime jazz tradition in the city of Dnieper. It continues. We are going to stay with you until approximately 10:30 p.m. with the best musicians, either those who are going to offer the live performance tonight, or maybe they're going to appear next year during the Jazz Fest. We are going to have very warm jazz sessions with you, not only in this kind of the talk, the show talk formats, but also in the classical standards, like we heard just a few minutes ago, the Dave Brubeck's hit. Dave Brubeck actually would remark his centennial from his birthday. Actually, absolutely agree with those who call Jacky Terrasson the pianist of happiness. This is amazing. But I was really touched by his 15th album in his musical career, 15th Tree, and where he himself wrote each track, actually recorded each track himself. In his interviews, he repeatedly mentioned that I recommend myself as the musicians who played the music of other composers. I put it through this music through myself, through my soul and heart, and becomes a different one. But in my 53 years, I am prepared to take the responsibility for my career, for my age. That's why the album is called 53. This is very intimate, a kind of showing the naked soul of the wonderful musician Jacky Terrasson. We stand an opportunity, stand the chance to hear the interview of Jacky Terrasson.
Jacky, hello.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
How are you?
We are great. Thank you. Thank you for having time and joining us and our interview for our festival. The audience is waiting for you with feeling very warm and expecting a lot of your performance. So
yeah, it's great to see you.
Audience loves you very much, and they were waiting for you this year. And that is why I hope next year you will perform at our festival in July.
Me too.
Yes.
Me too. I really hope to be back. I was looking forward to coming back, and unfortunately, a lot of shows have been canceled until next year.
The same situation with almost all the festivals all over the world.
Yeah. I was supposed to go to Algeria, many places, and everything has been canceled. I have two concerts in July, 2 concerts in August. I think nothing in September, and then in October things start to pick up a little more. But it's been quite a catastrophe, for the music. And financially, it's been rough, because that's how I make a living,
Yeah. So, but anyway, I saw a few days ago some advertising of your performance in Paris Club. So you
last weekend. It was so great. It was my first show, my first concert in 3 months. Yeah, it was great. It was great. Of course. It was the audience was limited to 75 people. It's a place it's a club, so it holds about 150, but it was limited to 75 people. But it was so nice to go back on stage and to share music and to do what I do.
How was your quarantine time at all? Maybe you wrote some new music. Maybe we should waiting for your new album. Named like Jacky in Lockdown, not?
Actually, I went.
Good in lockdown.
Yeah, I was I was in a very nice place. It's the place where I record my CDs. And I went there for 55 days, you know, and it was great because it's in the middle of the country. So every day I went for running or walking in the vineyards, and I wrote new compositions. I gained about 8 kilos, so that has to go away.
8? Only 8.
Oh, okay. How much did you put?
I have lost kilos.
You have lost
kilos,
kilos.
Yeah.
Good for you. You know, but it was actually not too stressful for me. The stressful part was not being able to travel and to go see my kids in New York. You know.
You seem to be very calm every time and now, and spreading, kind of a good vibe. And what helps you keeping the balance under the unpredictable circumstances of nowadays world? And what is your secret to be always like on a good point of your humor, character, mood, and etc.? Tricky question, no?
Sharing is the most valuable thing in life, whether it's music, whether it's cooking. I love to cook. And whether it's doing dinner parties, I think that's kind of universal, being with people and sharing emotions, music, all kinds of things.
Do you feel lazy anytime when you don't have energy to work or to perform or to create new music? Do you feel this sometimes? And what you do in this case?
Well, the thing is, I just accept it. And I don't think it's laziness. I just accept it and enjoy that time, It's not because I didn't play piano or I didn't do anything, or I didn't read a book or anything. I just say, hey, we're confined. We can't move. We can't travel. We can't play. We can't work. Okay, cool. Let me just enjoy the moment. But it's if I stayed here in Paris, it would have been horrible, because I have a place in New York. New York was worse. I have a small place in Paris. It's very small, but it's very nice. Let me show you. Ta-da!
Virtual excursion in your balcony, to your balcony.
That's my little balcony in my place, but here I would have gone crazy. So that's why I called a friend, and he said, "Yeah, of course, Jacky, you can come. You can stay for as long as we need to." But no, I don't accept lazy.
We neither.
So let's talk about let's talk a little about your new album, 53.
Yes.
As we have read in some reviews, it's mostly your own compositions.
Yes.
I saw among your composition there was one piece which is written by another author, by Mozart.
I wanted to do it. It was a challenge. Someone from the classical world defied me to do it, and I was like, yeah, fuck, I'm gonna do it, And I love that piece, like Mozart, the harmonies, the melody. It's very beautiful.
And our audience sent to our Facebook page some questions for you. And one of the questions, who is your favorite classical composer?
That's a tough one. Maurice Ravel.
Yes.
But it's very difficult to answer that with only one name. I love Francis Poulenc, Wagner, You know, Prokofiev, Stravinsky. I mean, there's so many. It's very difficult to just say who's your favorite. I have no favorite. I have a list of 50 people who are my favorites. Wow.
Another one question from the audience. Do you see that now people are younger than previous generation at the same age? For example, if we are in our 40s or 50s, but we look like we are 23, 35. Do you agree with that?
It depends if you smoke or not. You know, people who don't smoke stay younger. People who smoke look older. But I didn't understand the question. Do you mean in jazz clubs or in the audience?
Oh, in life.
No, in general.
In general, yeah.
I don't know.
I think the question was because you look much more younger than your age, and people decide to ask if it's true for
Actually,
everybody.
all of us look much more younger.
Lots of love, a good glass of wine every day, sex every day, lots of water, lots of water, and good food.
Now we know your preferences, Jacky.
What is your favorite wine? It's a question by Irina West, if I remember.
Yeah.
You know, it's a difficult question. It's like the other one. Who's your favorite classical composer? I don't have a favorite one. I love good wine. I love good wine, whether it's from France, Italy, Spain, Argentina, Chile, South Africa. I don't have a favorite wine. And
France.
You know, you can have the best wine with someone you don't like, and you could have the shittiest wine with someone you like, and you're gonna prefer the shittiest wine. Do you understand the concept?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So wine is really a sharing, partager, a sharing experience. It's not only the wine; it's who you're with. Where, which context? Are you in love? Are you just with a good friend? You know, wine is just a media for me. A media, a vector. I don't know the word in English. Vector.
And the last questions from
medium. Voilà.
So, in case you didn't become a musician, what profession would you choose?
Pilot.
Poet.
Pilot. No.
It's like a dream.
No, I was not good enough at school. I dropped out. You know, school was not my friend.
Great. So thank you, Jacky. Once again, we have to say to our people here that you will come to us next summer in July.
I hope so. Yes, I was so pissed when Christoph told me that this concert was with many others canceled, because I really wanted to come back and see you all and play for this new crowds that you know, it was the first time. Last time was the first time I was in Ukraine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being very open and sincere. And bonne journée.
Merci. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Це був Jacky Terrasson. Я сподіваюся, що ми побачимо його тут наживо в Дніпрі наступного року на фестивалі «Джаз на Дніпрі». Мене звуть Ярослав Тудигін, разом зі мною Валерія Чачибая. І ми продовжуємо наш онлайн-офлайн фестиваль «Джаз на Дніпрі 2020.
Знаешь, Ярославчик, скажу тебе честно, вот сейчас я волнуюсь как никогда за весь этот прекрасный вечер.
Перке.
Потому что у нас впереди разговор с ведущим журналистом о джазовом журналистом, музыкальным джазовым журналистом Тедом Панкиным. Он писал я открыла, посмотрела, для кого он писал, он просто писал для топ-10 лучших джазовых изданий, печатных, по крайней мере. Он поговорил с Артуро Сандовалем, то есть у нас будет сегодня возможность посмотреть на то, как реально музыкальные джазовые
Ще одним хедлайнером «Джаз на Дніпрі». Да.
Да, совершенно верно. И вот к этому разговору мы сейчас с Ярославом должны подготовиться.
That was Jacky Terrasson, and I really hope that we are going to his live, see and hear his live performance next year on the Jazz on Dnieper. Other countries will not understand what we are doing here and what we are talking here. In a few days from now, we are going to transmit in the English version of that. What is relaxation, best relaxation in the world, music. So we can hear the music of Seedorenko and his band. Wonderful jazz. Bravo. That was really hot. Pavlo Seedorenko band. Thank you very much. Wonderful. We have very moving moment at last. Unbelievable, world famous jazz journalist Ted Panken. We have contact.
Hello, Mr. Panken, an outstanding musical jazz journalist. Are ready
Mr.
to
Panken,
talk?
can you hear us? Oh,
Hello.
yes, hallelujah.
So good to see you.
Hello, are you at home now? Good to see you too. Добрий день, добрий вечір.
Добрий
Да,
вечір.
добрий вечір. Доброї ночі. Is it night in where you are?
В тому місці, де ви
No,
знаходитесь,
it's mid-afternoon for me.
Це
In the afternoon, where you are?
I
де
am
ви
in,
знаходитесь.
where am I?
Yeah.
I'm in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, New York. So good. What's the weather in? I should answer this question because it's a small talk. We're starting with. Yeah. What's the weather in Brooklyn? Mr.
Погода зараз
In
у
Brooklyn
Брукліні.
today, it's about
Сьогодні в Брукліні
80
десь
degrees Fahrenheit. And
80 градусів за Фаренгейтом і
Convert
так.
me Fahrenheit into Celsius.
It's
maybe 22 degrees
Десь,
centigrade.
якщо
23
поза
centigrade.
Цельсієм, це десь 22 градуси
23,
приблизно.
24 Celsius.
22-24 градуси
Mr.
Цельсія.
Panken, I just recently talked with my friend who also lives in New York, and he said that the city itself, the New York City, is coming out of the lockdown right now, and it's getting more or less as usual. What the situation right now in New York? What the situation with the music scene?
З Нью-Йорку, якщо йдеться про
the music
музичні
scene is not
сфери,
as
будемо
normal.
казати, ну, в музичній сфері не нормально. Поки що.
Music scene, there's small clubs. They're enclosed. People
Там,
can't
скажімо,
gather in
багато
those
що
clubs because
клуби зачинені, і люди не можуть туди потрапити. І через цей COVID-19, вірус COVID-19, така ситуація у Нью-Йорку, ви знаєте.
How does that affect the jazz music in United States, and of course worldwide? Yeah, because jazz musicians, especially not the major stars, are not the pop stars, and I think they harmed more than just a regular rock bands or pop bands.
That's
or
what we
hip-hop
think.
bands.
Yeah. How do you think?
Популярніші рокові
I
команди
think
року.
jazz musicians
Ну, я думаю, що
deeply,
взагалі
affected by
музиканти,
it. People are trying to
вони
are doing
намагаються, ви
some
знаєте,
things.
щось робити.
Streaming concerts, such as what you're doing with the festival. The Village Vanguard has every weekend is booking a band for 2
Кожного тижня
days, and
вони
it costs
грають,
a certain amount of
скажімо,
money, and I think they're
розробляють
getting a
певну
good audience.
кількість
Club
коштів,
Smalls
грошей,
in New York
скажімо,
is doing that.
і там,
But it's a very
будемо казати,
complicated, very
невеличка
difficult
кількість таких
situation.
місць, але знов-таки
Musicians are
повторюю,
suffering, I
що
think,
дуже важка ситуація зараз в
Depending,
Нью-Йорку. Люди страждають через цю
how things
ситуацію.
are in the European continent or in Russia or Ukraine.
Я знаю, ми знаємо, які новини, що відбуваються у Росії, в Україні, і взагалі у всьому світі. І будемо казати так, у Нью-Йорку, в місті Нью-Йорк дуже важка така ситуація. І ми намагаємося залишатися.
Okay, but from the other hand, we do have a new chance for us to see all these streaming concerts. It's a kind of controversial. And I wonder, what do you think about that new quality of concerts? I mean, online.
Яка якість таких концертів в онлайні? Що ви особисто вважаєте з цього приводу? Ви можете...
What do you personally think of this new genre? Yeah, of online.
Ви думаєте, гадаєте про новий жанр? Ну, це таке, будемо казати, вимагає цю ситуацію. Тобто ми змушені щось робити. Але були декілька таких чудових концертів. Це чудово, це допомагає. Нічого такого поганого з цим я не думаю, що щось відбувається. Це просто заміна живих таких перформансів, скажімо. Ми знаходимося, так мовити, скажімо, у задній частині сцени, якщо можна так сказати.
You think January is an optimistic...
Поки що ви вважаєте, що саме в січні щось...
Got it. Mr. Panken, do you personally know any noticeable jazz musician in the United States, maybe worldwide, that was that got COVID, you know, that was ill or...
Захворіли на COVID-19. Декілька людей померли, особливо це стосується.
Probably we may, give some names.
Можете назвати імена цих людей, які померли?
Ellis Marcellus was one.
Ellis Marcellus.
Branford Marcellus, his father, Mike Longo.
Його батько Майк Лонго також помер. Ну, ціла низка людей, скажімо, померли. Дуже шкода, безумовно.
As you know, it affects elderly people.
Ну, я хочу сказати, що люди похилого віку, і вони, як ви розумієте...
Yeah, if you don't mind, can we please go back to musical industry? I mean, the writing part of this musical industry. You are outstanding, well-known, I don't know, legendary musical journalist. Yeah, that's what we think in Ukraine about you. So be ready to this. And now you. It seemed to me that you don't have what to write about. Not many new releases, no concerts. What are you writing about these days?
На продукції музичної небагато відбувається. Це цікаве питання. Нещодавно те, що ми опублікували одну із статей, це така довга тривала стаття про одного з музикантів, який разом із своїм менеджером вони записували, скажімо, десь 12 альбомів було видано, і 2021 році буде сторіччя, будемо відмічати. Ну, це такий дуже довгий музичний п'єса. Я говорив з низкою різних музикантів, і це буде, безумовно, такий цікавий бенефіс. У вас є багато преси, так відгукується, так? Я один із саксофоністів відомий, декілька років помер, я з якими працював, і працював над його біографією, вона буде опублікована, будемо сподіватися,
Okay, Mr.
невдовзі.
Panken, I got a question I've prepared just, a week ago. Now I got a chance to ask it, finally. Have you ever had a chance to write about Ukrainian musicians? Can you recall?
Плануєте написати, чи щось писали про українських музикантів? Ви знаєте, ніколи не бував в Україні. Декілька людей емігрували в Сполучені Штати з України десь 115 років тому, мої родичі. У мене було декілька шансів поїхати відвідати Росію. Десь 2015-2016 і 2017 років він був шанс побувати в Росії. Я, чесно кажучи, очікував з нетерпінням минулого місяця приїхати, мати нагоду приїхати в Україну. Ми сподіваємося, що ми побачимо вас на джазі.
Actually, we plan to have it on the stage, the legendary Arturo Sandoval, and I hope that next year he will come, and he'll take you with himself, especially you know each other, and you made an exclusive.
Ви зробили з ним ексклюзивне інтерв'ю, я знаю. Фактично, ми не зустрічались ніколи. Я, скажімо, брав інтерв'ю у нього, але ніколи з ним.
So we hope that Dnipro city, strangely, will be the place when you will firstly
Чи містом, де ви вперше познайомитесь, так би мовити, фізично з Артуром Сандовалем.
Let's just pause for a couple of minutes and just remind ourselves of how great this musician is and just watch his earlier appearances here in Dnipro at one of the festivals of recent years, and then we'll come back and we will listen to your exclusive
Ми з вами, ми вам ще повернемося, щоб слухати ваші ексклюзивні інтерв'ю з паном Сандовалем. Чи ви зможете почути це інтерв'ю? Ну, сподіваємося. But now, before we watch this exclusive interview of Ted Panken, legend of the American jazz journalism, with Arturo Sandoval, legendary musician of the first caliber, we would like to remind you how Arturo Sandoval actually made his performance, or appeared with his performance several years ago. We have huge archives of jazz in Dnipro. We are going to have a glimpse of that archive right away.
гідом Артура Сандовала. Звичайно, це відео не з фестивалю в Україні, а з його...
Definitely, you know, we had this kind of talk. He was not in Ukraine, he was talking from his home, you know, because of the COVID-19. But we hope that he is going to join us next year. Arturo Sandoval, legendary musician, one of the trumpeteers who can take those high-pitch notes. Not everybody can do that. And we are going to follow the mastership, I would say, of two legends. The interviews of Ted Panken, where he takes interview from Arturo Sandoval. We would like to thank Ted Panken for his contribution this year, and we hope that Arturo Sandoval will be one of the headliners next year in 2021 on Jazz in Dnipro. And let's hear their talk.
My name's Ted Panken, and this is one of two interviews that we're doing with artists who would otherwise be playing at the Jazz at Dnieper Festival on these 2 days in August. Today, we're speaking with a musician to whom the word maestro is no understatement. It's really the only appropriate appellation thing to call him, and that's Arturo Sandoval, a master of the trumpet, very fine piano player, composer, arranger, and not only that, but a master interpreter in many styles. His most recent record is a Christmas recording, I believe. Before that, he put out Ultimate Duets, which has him in conjunction with Stevie Wonder, Pharrell Williams. I believe Celia Cruz is on that record too, is she not? Many other people performing an array of music.
As a posthum tribute to her.
As a tribute to her, yes. And the record before that was a live record at Yoshi's. Mr. Sandoval has recorded albums devoted to the tango, the bolero, the danzón, to bebop, to rumba, and he has incorporated all of those idioms and really in a highly Pan-American style, like your mentor Dizzy Gillespie, and the footsteps of him, it seems to me, on all of the recordings that you've made since you left Cuba in 1991 and settled in the United States. In any event, that's a long prologue, and I'd like to thank you for joining us, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you, Arturo Sandoval.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure.
I'd like to ask you first, although you'll be hearing this in August, we're speaking at the end of June. And we're in the middle of the coronavirus, the COVID-19 pandemic. Everybody's staying in. I'd like to ask how you're coping with it and what you're doing, how it's affected your daily activity, your musical production.
You know, it's my philosophy in life always has been doesn't matter how hostile could be the panorama around, we always have to look to the sunny side of the street. And I've been locked down at home, of course, like everybody else, for a few months. But I've been composing a lot. I've been practicing, studying, but mainly creating a lot of new music. You know, I'm working in a new trumpet concerto as well. I've been doing a couple of scores for movies during this time. And I still, you know, very active. Every night I post something, I share my new composition and different kind of tunes that I like over so many years. And I share that with everybody in all my, you know, pages.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah, everything. And, you know, this is the positive side. The negative side is we're not allowed to play live gigs, you know, and that's very sad because we need that kind of encounter, you know, with the audience, and it's sad because for us it's like a kind of a spiritual necessity, you know, to play for the people and get that feedback from them, because that is what it really feed us to keep doing, you know, what we do. And but hopefully that thing's gonna be over sooner than later, hopefully, and we're gonna come back on the road and start playing gigs. I can't wait for the next year to come back to Ukraine.
Well, if you were, well, we were, I was going to be there too, in Ukraine, and I were watching your band. What repertoire would you be playing, and who would be in the band?
Oh, my regular band: John Belzegay on bass, Johnny Friday on drums, Tiki Pasillas on percussion, Mike Tucker on saxophone, Will Brown on guitar, and Max Hamer on the piano.
What sort of repertoire would you be playing?
Oh, I don't know. But we call what we play, we call that music.
But okay, you'd be obvious. Yes, you'd be playing. But would it be bebop? Would it be a Pan American theme? Would it be where would you be honing in, do you think?
I'm gonna be doing the same thing I have been doing for the last, I don't know, 40 years or something, you know. Play my music, sometimes we play some standards. We made a combination of different rhythm, different things, you know, and I sing a couple of songs, I play the piano, I play some percussion, you know, we do our thing, and we enjoy so much what we do. And I hope the people will enjoy the music we will present.
Well, I think the track record is pretty good at this point. People around the world will have an opportunity to see this interview because it will be posted on YouTube and other social media venues, but it's specifically intended for a Ukraine audience. And I'm sure there are people, you know, you're going to have some repeat customers here, people who have seen you play before and been fans for years. Have you, how many times would you say you've played in Ukraine or the various countries that comprise the former Soviet Union?
Oh, you know what? I've been in all those places a few times, but to be honest, for me, it's impossible to recall all the occasions, because I've been playing music, and I started playing music professionally in 1961. Oh my goodness, almost 60 years.
That is 59 years you've been playing professionally.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
By the way, we came here for good to the U.S. in '89. We're here for 31 years. I'm 71 years old. I was 40 when we came.
Do you remember your first visit to Russia? Your first trip to the former Soviet Union?
Probably in oh my Lord, I can't remember, but I think it was in the beginning of the 80s, probably 84, 83 or something like that. Yeah.
Paquito de Rivera, in his memoir, writes about a trip in 1968 with Orquesta Cubana de Música Moderna. Back in those days, in which he and Chucho Valdez and you and the people who later formed Irakere were part of. You have any memories of that?
I wasn't in that trip. By the way, that's right information.
Okay.
They went to Russia with a quartet or quintet or something, but it wasn't the Orquesta Cubana Música Moderna, because I joined our orchestra in '67.
Yeah.
And we, as far as I remember, we never traveled out of the country with that orchestra. We never did.
Okay, that's. Thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate that.
Okay, probably my first trip to the Soviet Union was with Irakere, and in the beginning of '80s.
Beginning of the '80s.
Yes, sir.
Can you? I wanted to ask you though about your encounters with some of the internationally eminent musicians who performed in that band. If you don't mind saying a few words about them. Paquito de Rivera, for example, you've had a very long-standing relationship with him.
Oh yes, we started playing together in that orchestra, the big band in Cuba in '67. And then we put together Irakere '74, and then we were playing. I was playing there until the beginning of 1980. When I left Irakere, I started to play with my own band. I put my own band together for the first time in
1980.
But I've been very blessed, all my life, because I play with a lot of my heroes and a lot of people I respect and I admire immensely.
You said you started playing professionally at the trumpet, but professionally at 12. But when did you start playing the trumpet? What brought you to the instrument?
I was 10 years old, probably 1959.
I've lost you.
Hold on.
You're muted.
No, I didn't mind. You know what? We are. I can't turn off my phone, otherwise we cannot do it.
That was your phone.
Somebody was calling me.
I see.
It's okay.
What were you saying when what was I asking you? I lost that. How you started playing the trumpet? You were 10 years old when you first.
Yeah, I started in a little marching band in my village where I grew up, was born and grew up. And I started trying different instruments until the trumpet started to really call my attention.
What was it about the trumpet? Did you just have a facility for it? Did you?
I still in love with the sound of the trumpet. I think the instrument itself gives you the possibility to express your feelings without limitation. You can whisper and you can make a big sound, and you can, the instrument gives you all kind of possibility to say what you want to say and how you want to say.
Well, I read an interview where you said you can whisper, and you related to whisper, and you can roar, and all the vibrations in between.
Absolutely, you can go from A to Z.
And you do. Listening to a lot of your recordings, and it's true.
I practice to be able to do that, but with the trumpet, you never get to nowhere. We always are in the middle of the road. We have to. We are as good as you play it last night.
So, well, when did you start listening to other practitioners of the trumpet, people who might have influenced your approach?
Since the very beginning, local people and people in Cuba that I really start to listen to.
Who were some of them?
And I started playing, my first thing was very traditional Cuban music in my village. That was the very first sense for around 3 years. And then I get a scholarship for 3 years to get a classical training. So far, I never heard any jazz music. Was later on, was somebody asked me if I were aware of, I knew about the jazz music. I said, no. And then he said, okay, come to me, I'm gonna play you something. And then he played for me a compilation, a vinyl, an old album of Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker. That was it. That turned my head upside down, you know. And I said, oh my goodness, I want to learn about that. And then I became a huge fan, you know, especially of Dizzy. And I was so lucky, exactly 10 years later, Dizzy came to Havana and we met there.
Could you tell that story? It's a great, it's 1977. It's a great story. Would you tell it? You were his driver, yes?
Somebody let me know that Dizzy Gillespie was about to arrive in Cuba. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was a joke. But finally, I went to the harbor. He came there in the boat, in the jazz cruise he was doing. And then I offered him to give him a little tour through the city because he'd never been there before. And that was it. Later at night, we played together, and that was great, man. That was like a gift from God to me, you know.
But he didn't know you were a trumpet player at first.
I never told him. I never told him that I was a trumpet player or a musician. I never told him so far until late at night. They organized like a kind of a jam there with the visitors, and we played for them with Irakere. And when he saw me warming up backstage with the trumpet, he asked a bunch of people, "Hey, what my driver is doing with the trumpet?" Somebody said, "Oh, he's a trumpet player." He said, "Hell no, he's my driver." That was a funny thing, you know. But I always considered that like a gift, you know, from God, and it was an incredible opportunity for me to become his friend. And then a year after, in '78, I started to play with him until he passed away in January 6, '93.
How did you talk a little more about how your relationship with him developed? You did 2 recordings, I believe, for Pablo Records.
Yes, sir.
There are 2 recordings.
A lot of different things, you know. We did a lot of things over the years, you know. We did a lot of tours. We did some records. We do some, you know, and I started also to play with him with the United Nations, the big band that he put together. We did a couple of albums with that thing and a video actually in the Albert Hall in
Albert Hall in London.
Albert Hall in London, yeah.
I'd like to, that band, well, Dizzy Gillespie had an enormous impact on, in his bringing, you know, merging the codes of Afro-Cuban music and Afro-Caribbean music with the codes of jazz, not just Afro-Cuban music, but tango, bossa nova, and samba. All of those things, and all of those flavors infused the Pan American Orchestra, which was...
He was an innovator. He was an innovator. He was a guy who... The best lesson I learned from him was his passion and love for music, you know. He always was ready to learn something and include a lot of different things into his own music. And him and Mario Bauza, together with Chano Pozo, those 3 guys, they were responsible for the creation of what they call Afro-Cuban jazz. Later on, some people, I don't know why, with permission of whom, they changed the name of the style. They started to call that Latin jazz, but I never accept that. I, in my heart and in my book, this still called Afro-Cuban jazz because the people who invented, they name it like that.
Can't argue with that.
Well, you could if you want. I don't want to reply.
I don't want to argue with that. I'll say I don't want to argue with that. About 9 years ago, 2011, you released a tribute album to Dizzy Gillespie.
Unfortunately, Chano also died 2 years before I was born. But Dizzy introduced me also to Mario Bauza. Mario was a big instrumental in that kind of creation, because beside that, he was a musical director of Chick Webb, Fletcher Henderson, Cat Calloway, Machito Orchestra. He created that orchestra. And also, he's the guy who discovered Ella Fitzgerald and brought her to New York to sing in the Chick Webb band.
Yeah, he heard her at the amateur night at the Apollo Theater, and definitely brought her to Chick Webb's attention. And he and Dizzy Gillespie, I think, were roommates in Cab Calloway's band, if I'm not mistaken. He taught him
that was way before when Dizzy introduced me to Mario. He told me, I love this guy with all my heart. He's like a father to me. When Dizzy came to New York the very first time, Mario was the guy who took him on his wing and introduced him to a bunch of people and gave Dizzy a lot of opportunities. Actually, he put Dizzy to play with Cat Calloway.
Thank you.
Mario.
Thank you for that. You recorded you recorded Dizzy Gillespie's compositions since you left the island and moved to the United States, but you did a very strong album in 2011 called Dear Diz with arrangements of 11 of his greatest tunes and your solos and reframing them. You've also recorded a tribute album to Clifford Brown, who I would guess is another hero of yours. And
Absolutely.
About his impact on you?
Absolutely. Clifford was one of the kind, man. He was an incredible, so smart, so creative, and so dedicated, because he was a very serious musician, and he died in the car accident when he was 25 years old. Actually, 3 days ago, it was an anniversary of his death in 1956. He was 25 years old. And I'm gonna tell you, he was such a straight guy. He never touched any kind of drug or alcohol. He practiced a lot every day. He really was an incredible musician. And as far as everybody who knew him very well, I was very lucky. I was very good friend of his widow, LaRue Brown. We were close friends. And she told me, and I also am a very good friend of Clifford Jr. He's a jazz radio host here in California. And the stories I heard from them about Clifford, that it really, everybody loved him so much. He was a beautiful, beautiful person as a person, besides to be one of the greatest jazz trumpeter ever.
You did an exceptional record, which I'm going to hold up to the camera. Paul, is this in it?
Trumpet Evolution.
Trumpet Evolution.
That's
you did a lot of homework for this record, it seems. You
played many years.
Many years, a lifetime, I guess, of work. But it starts with King Oliver and it ends with Wynton Marsalis.
In 19 different songs of me paying tribute and paying respect to all those great trumpeters over so many, almost 100 years. And I got 41, I think 42 albums. And that one is by far my favorite album that I ever gonna make in my life.
Why is that?
Because it shows my respect for all the exponent of the instrument and my dedication to learn all different styles, including classical music too, because I played Timofey Doc Caesar and Maurice Andre, beside Clifford, Clark Terry, Fat Navarro, Hardy James, Oh my God, King Oliver,
Rafael Mendez also.
Rafael Mendez, man, it's a full variety of style and sounds and approach to the instrument and to the music itself.
Well, that's something I wanted to ask you. You kind of anticipated not a question, but a remark that I think I touched on it when I was making my introduction, that you play so many different styles of music, and I think you've actually said that it's your mission to interpret as many styles as you can. And one time I once did a piece, an article for Downbeat on Tushel Valdez, and he told me that Bebel Valdez, with his pedagogy, he started him by, here's Jelly Roll Morton, learn it. Here's stride piano, learn it. Here's Earl Hines and Art Tate, and so forth, systematically through the history of piano styles when he was a young, formative pianist. Is that somewhat your approach as a younger musician, or how do you approach?
Over the years, I always has a very interest to study, to learn the different kind of nuances of the different style, and for that reason, I became a kind of imitator, And Claude Terry, one of the greatest ever, he always said, the natural and the most logical and organic approach is 3 different words: imitate, emulate, and then create, in that order. And it's normal, it's okay when you hear people that you admire and respect, try to imitate them. And then in the same way you're learning. In the process, you're learning, you're improving your thing, your vocabulary and your knowledge of the different style. And later on, when you feel a little more confidence and then you start to emulating your own heroes, That's quite good too, because that means you are been growing as an instrumentalist, and then you feel encouraged to emulate your own heroes. And then later on, if your passion is big enough and your dedication is serious enough, and then you're going to be able to create your own things, your own vocabulary, your own things that the people could identify your personality and your way of expressions. And it's a normal and a very good process in any musician life.
I'm curious, when do you think you started to develop your own sound, the recognizable Arturo Sandoval sound? Is that something you don't care to speculate on?
No, I really don't know. I really don't know, because that's not like that happens in a couple of days, that's over the years and years and years of trying and practicing and studying carefully, and that you really don't know when is that key point that you really feel that it's a long process, that take years.
Let's see, what else do I have so many things I want to ask you, and yet I don't want to overburden you with time here. But would you say that the United Nations Orchestra and the musical philosophy of it, the pan-stylistic, pan-American philosophy, was an influence on your career subsequently?
This was like a big-time teacher in every sense of the word, and this was one of the big lessons we learned from him, that he put a band that got people from Panama, Puerto Rico, Brazil, United States, Cuba, oh my goodness, a bunch of places, and Dominican Republic as well. And that's the reason he called it United Nations, And but he embraced everything and everybody so warmly, and that was a big lesson we all learned from him as well, to be hungry for information and to be friendly and nice to everyone. And we learn from him constantly, about everything.
Were you aware while living in Cuba a little bit, more than a little bit, of Afro-Caribbean music, Afro-Cuban music in the United States, salsa music, what Eddie Palmieri was doing, for example, or the Latin bands associated with Fania, or wasn't that part of what was available to you then?
In Cuba we have a lot of limitation in that matter because we don't have a store where they sell records or anything like that. And the only way we had for so many years was to listen to the shortwave radio transmission every day with Willie Scanover. He got that program in the Voice of America. They call it Jazz Hour. Mm-hmm. And we listened to that program every single day from Monday to Friday. And that was the only way we have to listen and learn and know what's going on in all the jazz field, And that really helped us a lot to learn about jazz in general.
I've spoken with some Cuban musicians, and it's been written about, who said that people would pass around tapes and copy them, 2, 3, 4 generations of tapes and listen to them, like Russian musicians did in the 1950s and 1960s, sort of a samizdat kind of thing, which perhaps some of the Ukrainian audience will recognize quite well.
Years also in Cuba, jazz for so many years was forbidden. It was something they called the music of the imperialists, which is, is absolutely stupid to call that kind of music that thing. And we really suffer from that because we don't even were allowed to say or to play jazz, And for example, when we put together Irakere, in the very beginning, we weren't allowed to use the cymbals on the drums because they said that was rock and roll and jazz music, and then we have to use the drums without cymbals, something like that. Stupidities like that, and we have to masquerade what we want to do in the end. I was playing bebop and play jazz, and then we have to say and play it in the way that the government believed that was a kind of a new kind of a music style that was a very Cuban experimental kind of music, But in the end, what we did was playing bebop and jazz on the knees of a heavy Cuban rhythm and stuff.
From the perspective of 2020, what do you think was the impact of Irakere on the sound of?
I was banned until the end of '79, and that was 5 years. 74 to '79. For 5 years, we did a few tours, and we created a lot of music and different kind of things, and the band really have a good impact, and a lot of fans all over the world, and still a lot of people still listen to those recordings and following those things and watching the videos, and it was a beautiful experience for us all in the band.
I bet. Well, it was an amazing band. It must have been.
Okay, my friend, thank you so much, but I gotta go. I have to work.
Oh, well, can we have 5 more minutes? I have just a couple more questions.
Yes, sir.
5 more minutes.
Okay.
5 more minutes. I wanted to ask you, I saw on your Facebook page a video of a young Cuban trumpet player that you thought was terrific, and he was. I can't remember. I didn't write down his name. You posted this a few days ago. I'm only mentioning that. I'm curious. Do you maintain still relationships with musicians in Cuba and musical institutions? Do you still keep connections?
You know, unfortunately, I left the islands 31 years ago. I never come back, and I never will. So far, the dictatorship is still in power. I refuse to go back. And I would love to stay in touch with a lot of people. Sometimes, very secretly, we make contact through the internet and things. But to be honest, since I left the island, they prohibit my music and talk about my name or mention me or play anything that I was involved.
So they've censored you. They've cut you out of the history.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And a non grata person for that. And also, the people in the island, they know very well they are not allowed to be to get any kind of relationship with me, you know, because that could create problems for them.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But have you maintained relationships with some of the younger players who either emigrated to the United States from Cuba?
Oh yeah,
or whose parents are Cuban?
Of course, yes.
What do you think of the way they've had a big impact on the sound of jazz in the United States? People like Fabian Almazen, who I know you knew as a teenager, I think.
Yeah,
so too many names to mention.
You know, the music. I always said music is in the atmosphere. Music is in the air. You know, the people who got a couple of holes in their nose, you're gonna be able to smell and breathe music. And it doesn't matter where you grew up, how hostile could be the environment or the situation where you're living that moment. If you got a passion and love and serious dedication for music, you're gonna learn and you're gonna come out with something good no matter what. And that is what happened in Cuba, but it happened all over the world. You can see young musicians nowadays, very talented, with a big passion and great skills, you know. And it's good because that guarantees the future of music, because a lot of young people are still doing the right things for music.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you gave me the extra few minutes. That's a great way to conclude the conversation. Maestro Arturo Sandoval, thank you very much for joining us.
Wonderful day.
Yes, you too.
Bye-bye, man.
Bye-bye.
Микола – акула бізнесу, та всі справи поділив на ті, що приносять гроші, та на ті, що не приносять. Коля, а руки помити?
Це грошей мені не приносить.
Добре, що у всіх є вологі серветки Smile Antibac. Smile – твоя гарна звичка.
Добрий вечір ще раз всім, хто...
Good night to everyone, those who still are with us, who managed to hear to the end our first online, offline kind of mixed format, unique format for today, but it's kind of already everybody in the musical industry there get used to that, like we are. We do appreciate that you spent this day, this second half of the day with us and shared with us your experience, your knowledge. I'm talking about the participants in the chat on YouTube. You remember we asked you a few questions about Dave Brubeck, and the whole jazz world marks his centennial since his birthday. And our award quiz was dedicated to this legend of jazz. And before we actually end our first day, we are going to give the names of the three winners. This is the most honest quiz, at least for the fact that we do not have all the correct answers to all the questions. You know, to determine the winners, I would like to turn the mic to the Director of Communications of the Jazz and Dnieper Festival, Tatiana Drobakina. Good evening, good night. Tatiana, good night. Yaroslav, we had 4 questions, right? And the winners became some people who at least gave us the correct answer at least to one question. Actually, they had to send in the answers. Those who had the same answers, they all are going to be awarded. We have 3 winners, the she winners, who actually answered the first, the second, and the first, and the fourth question. The third question was not correctly answered. Okay, so the first question, why in the Time Out album of Dave Brubeck there are some words a la Turk, translated from Latin, French, or Italian, the Turkish way. Why? Because one day Dave Brubeck was in Istanbul. He was just roaming through the streets, and he actually heard an unusual rhythm, 9/8, and it turned out that this is typical rhythm for the Turkish people. That's why he wrote the composition Ronda, and he actually entitled that and dedicated to this rhythm of the Istanbul people. So it was called the Blue Ronda a la Turk. Who was the winner, she winner, Alina Wolk. Alina, please send in your contact information to our webpage. We are going to contact you, and we'll inform you where and when you can actually collect your prize. You actually are a winner of 2 prizes like all the other winners. This is the prize merch from the Jazz and Dnipro Festival. This is a kind of brand bag with some gifts and some of the presents of our sponsor Biosphere, Brando Smile, the set of the household, let's say, things. We have 2 more winners and 2 more questions, and one question remained without the winner, but we are going to fill in the gap. So the second question was, take 5. The official author is considered to be Paul Desmond. We know that all the band of Dave Brubeck participated in creating such legendary composition, but what was the role of Dave Brubeck? Dave Brubeck took much interest in the unusual rhythm, so he tried to create in his album a composition of 5/4. And he gave the task to Paul Desmond, but he failed to cope with this task. He actually provided several fragments, which Dave Brubeck later united in the whole, in the one and single composition. So, like, you know, Dave Brubeck did all to turn to the Take 5 tune or composition. I heard that they gave this name, Take 5, because of a very usual reason, you know, banal reason. That was just 5 score or 5, let's say, take, you know. So they said that 5th take, and they called Take 5. And nobody, unfortunately, nobody answered this question. Otherwise, Yaroslav will send gladly this prize to the winner. The winner of our child, Maria Zemlyak, is a winner. She provided the correct answer to that question. So please contact us and provide you information about you, and you will tell you where you can collect your prize. And the question number 4 was a correct answer, which we received in 1988. The presidential president, the First Lady, actually invited Dave Brubeck to perform during their official visit to Moscow. So the question was, what was the first composition, opening. So the second composition during this performance. Actually, the first answer we received from Natalia Skorokhod, and the answer correct is take the 8 train. This is the kind of the calling card of this band. So, and the question which was remained unanswered correctly, in 1958, Dave Brubeck took part in the Jazz Messengers actually event organized by the Congressman Powell, and the question was where the Brubeck orchestra actually performed in which country. We received the answer Hungary, but the correct answer is Poland. Was actually the country that here joined the Jazz Messengers program. I was disappointed. Actually, there were not so many countries in the Eastern Bloc. You could provide all the countries and somebody would hit the target. Anyway, tomorrow we are going to continue and to offer our prizes to our listeners, to our viewers, to our audience who decide to spend with us also tomorrow. We are going to tell you what we are going to have tomorrow. We would like to thank all our partners and the director for communication of the Jazz in Dnieper Festival, Tatiana Drobakina. If you are talking about the partners, I believe that those people under such the crisis situation deserve being named today. We would like to appreciate the cooperation, understanding, actually, it's very touchy, the Department of Humanitarian Policy of the Administration of Culture of the Dnipropetrovsk Council. Also, we would like to thank Biosphere organization. He's an honorary partner for several years now. Actually, we are going to give the prizes sponsored by them. Actually, we have to thank the Fund Cultural Capital in the program Cultural Capital. Please remember those names. They helped us. They helped to have this online jazz festival under such difficult times. Also, would like to thank the deputy of the Dnipropetrovsk Municipal Council, Mr. Grigory Gelfer. Thank you. Also, would like to thank all the friends and the supporters and sponsors who support the Jazz in the Dnieper in such difficult times. Of course, we would like to thank the most jazz-minded mayor of Ukraine, the mayor of Dnieper, Boris Filantov, and Gennady Korban. Thanks again to everybody who supported the Jazz in Dnieper. Of course, everybody who supports the culture, generally speaking, jazz culture, which actually gains momentum despite its long history, but it still gains momentum in our country. Those people and organizations, they deserve our gratitude, all of us. Absolutely true. And for myself and Valeria and all those who are present here in the studio, there is a lot of people behind the scenes, so to say, who are helping us during all this day. For all of us, there was this great opportunity, the first part of this opportunity, to feel ourselves part of this great world where people perform in the live performance. And we would like to thank all those people who decide to stay with us, and we actually try to send this powerful signal and about all the topics we discussed today here in the studio this Saturday in the city of Dnieper. We would like to say hello to all of our audience. Actually, you stand a chance to be part of the live concert, especially those who have the special ticket. Hello, Marty is going to perform by all means. Thank you very much. If this mood of online Jazz Festival 2020, Jazz in Dnieper, join us tomorrow. We are going to have another wonderful time. Yaroslav Ladygin, Valery Babin, we're with you. We have a lot of lives tomorrow in our plans and many exclusive interviews. And definitely there will be another opportunity to let's say, to become part of the legendary Jazz in the Dnieper program. Good night. Have a real sweet and full of music dreams.
position. You will produce the same condition. Crazy rhythm, I've gone crazy too. Crazy, crazy too. Crazy rhythm, here's a doorway. I'll go my way, you go your way. Crazy rhythm from now on we're. This is where we have a showdown, cause I'm too high hat and you're too low down. It's a crazy rhythm, now here's goodbye. They say that when a highbrow meets a lowbrow, walking along the right way, as soon that highbrow, he got a no brow. Ain't it a shame and you're to blame? What's the use of prohibition? You produce the same condition.